Hi students, I just wanted to give a quick recap. I'm quickly finishing up grading your week 3 assignments. Thank you for being patient on that since we are in week 5. And then I'm going to be moving on to week 4, which you just turned in this past Monday, and grading those assignments. So thank you for your patience. I just wanted to give a little feedback and clarification on some of the assignments and just note on some of your responses and feedback that I was reading, which were really insightful and great to read. One of the assignments, the career reflection assignment, if you remember that assignment, that was the one that touched on different scenarios, and I was asking what your initial thoughts and your initial reactions would be to some of these posed questions or scenarios. And so really many of you thought or responded that these were thought-provoking responses, yet you found yourself saying, well, I wouldn't be surprised, I wouldn't be caught off guard, it wouldn't make me think twice, which really represents that you're looking at things from a very equality standpoint, that things wouldn't surprise you, or that the norm isn't to really stereotype or bias certain things, which is awesome. And that a lot of you mentioned that even your families raised you to kind of think, to see how males and females, it applies to both, have similar opportunities. And so that's really great. It's really great to read. Some of you also who said that this may be just the way it is sometimes. And so what I wanted to present for this assignment was really to look at and start uncovering that maybe these specific scenarios didn't invoke a certain response, but you may find yourself responding to certain situations, and you might come across other individuals who may respond to these types of scenarios from a different viewpoint. I share the story that, I lived in the Midwest for a while to do graduate schooling, and I come from a multiracial partnership with my husband. And so it was very interesting to experience coming from California, where you see multiracial relationships all the time, and experiencing a different setting where we weren't the norm, and we did get a lot of stares, and it was just a very interesting experience. And so you might find yourself in a career setting, especially nowadays, where many generations are in one type of career setting. You might be in an office setting where we have people in their 60s, near 70s still working, and then you have individuals in their 20s that are coming out of schooling, that are working in the same environment and have different viewpoints, different experiences. And so what's positive and great to see is that, yes, I do feel much of the younger generation is more accepting, and certain things are the norm. And yet there are other individuals, regardless of age or where they come from, that may have different viewpoints. So as you move into careers, this can come up, this just differences. I will say, when I first started in higher education, a lot of those in higher positions tended to be male, and now we're seeing a shift in that, and it's a great thing to experience and see. And so on our campus, we're a very diverse campus, which is amazing, but you'll see differences in that way. And so hopefully, as many of you say, that the things are changing, and there is going to be more equality for yourself and for others and for future generations. The second assignment that I wanted to discuss was the assignment that looked at personality traits and temperaments. So if you remember, it was the Young Typology assignment. And so many of you, commented on how personality assessments aren't by far the greatest thing, because you don't want to be pigeonholed, and I definitely agree with that. I hope many of you looked at this video, because it really does discuss a little bit about what those dichotomies we're actually looking at. So I'm going to just briefly talk about them. The first dichotomy, extroversion versus introversion, it's talking about where we gain our energy. So if your score showed E, extroversion, that means you like to gain your energy in the outer world of places and people. Introversion is you gain energy from your inner world of your thoughts and your feelings, and going inward towards introspection. So it's not looking at, are you a good social skill person? Are you an extroverted person? That dichotomy is really looking at, where do we gain our energy? So the tricky part about this is, I have a friend who's the life of the party. She likes to dance, she likes to socialize, and she's very good at it. So when she's in a party situation, she's the one going around to everybody. She's the one who's the life of the party. The next day, she is drained. She likes to spend the day at home to herself, because those types of situations drain her. It doesn't give her energy, even though she looks like a very extroverted person. Those situations drain her energy. And even though she'll enjoy it and she'll like the party, and she's very fun to be with, the next day she needs to go inward to her thoughts and her experiences and her feelings, and just kind of spend the day to herself, because she's more drained of her energy. So that's that first dichotomy. The second dichotomy, sensing versus intuition, is really looking at how we take in information. Not, are we an intuitive person or are we sensitive, which is what it's called, sensing versus intuition. It's really looking at, how do we take in information? Do we lean more towards our intuitive side, or do we lean more towards sensing side, which is looking at more the here and now, the facts, how procedures were done in the past? Or are we more future oriented, which is the intuition side? The third dichotomy is looking at thinking versus feeling. That's how we go about making decisions. When I make a decision in my life, do I go to the facts and the figures? Am I very black and white? Or do I look more at how I feel about a certain situation? So another example, my husband and I had to make a medical decision, and my husband asked the doctor, well, what are the statistics on this? What's the rate of success? And asked those types of data questions, whereas I went to, how would I feel if it didn't work out in my favor? How do I feel about this decision? How do I feel about the doctor? And so I really went to my feelings first, and then I looked at the data later. He goes to the data first and then touches on the feelings afterwards. The last dichotomy is looking at judging versus perceiving. Again, this is looking at how we go about, how we organize our outer world. So it's not, are we judgmental? Are we perceptive? It's looking at judging, how we organize that outer world. Those who lean more towards judging are more, they like to organize their outer world. They like to make plans and schedules. They keep themselves on a schedule. Those that lean more toward perceiving are more flexible, go with the moment. They can change their plans. So my husband and I are very different on this dichotomy. I'm judging. So I like to create lists. I have a schedule for my day. Even if I don't write it down in my head, I have a schedule of what we're doing every few hours. I've got kind of a organized plan. He's very much wherever the day takes us. If things change, he's flexible. Something new comes up, he's like, okay, great, let's do it. And I'm on the other end. And again, what I really like to summarize for all of you is, does this capture all of who you are? No, we're just looking at 4 different elements. But it does play into a lot of how we can behave. Are we sometimes both? Absolutely. Sometimes do I lean more towards the other and not this dichotomy? Absolutely. We have traits of both, but naturally we lean more towards one. So that's where it can be confusing for some students. Some students say, well, I feel like I'm both, or, it said that I'm this, but sometimes I'm this way. That's absolutely true, but we typically have a natural inclination towards one way, but we can definitely operate in the other way as well. So again, it's just a quick snapshot, because again, as we look at these elements of our personality, and our career satisfaction, we'll find that some of these elements play more into certain careers where we might find more satisfaction. So I talked a lot. Hopefully this was a little bit helpful in clarifying those assignments, but I really enjoyed reading your answers and your thoughts and opinions. Thank you for sharing. If you want to dialogue about any of this stuff, please feel free to reach out to me. Have a good week.